Good afternoon. It's always a pleasure to come and to speak to my fellow analysts. And each of you are analysts in my organization, the TRADOC Analysis Center. And usually I talk about technical things, but today I'm here to deliver some bad news. Science is broken. That's what the headlines tell us. Science is broken. The scientific method is the basis of our profession, and statistical significance is one of the cornerstones of our analyses. Yet, today, the most prestigious journals with papers published by the most honored researchers from academic and research institutions are failing. You're probably aware that over 10 years ago, Stanford statistician John Ioannidis told us that 90% of the findings in these published papers are false. How can that be? In 2012, a company decided to try to reproduce or replicate the findings of preclinical cancer studies. These are some of the most scrutinized studies that occur in science. They selected 53 landmark preclinical cancer studies. They reproduced only 6. Now, we read about fraud from time to time in science, and we see ourselves sometimes things that are purported to be good findings that have a weakness in the data or the methodology or are the result of just bias or lack of understanding or due diligence by those involved. But this is an important and indeed possibly an existential crisis for us as operations research analysts. What this means to you is profound. It's about the deference that you normally receive when you present your work. In the future, you're going to be challenged. They're going to challenge your methodologies. They are going to challenge your data. They're going to challenge your professionalism and whether you're exhibiting biases, because so much bad science is out there and so many of us are aware of it. Our analysis results include findings that support claims. Often, we use statistical significance to support a finding that there's a measurable difference between two things, that one thing is better than another. And of course, at the heart of that is this idea of p-values, which I learned were the probability of obtaining a result equal to or more extreme than was actually observed, assuming that some hypothesis is true. That's what I learned. That's what many of you learned. The American Statistical Association came out with a statement recently about p-values. And it ain't so, what we learned. P-values go all the way back to the 1770s. Laplace calculated the first p-value that we can document. They've been around for a while, and as you know, Ronald Fisher made them the gold standard cornerstone of science. So what I want to demonstrate to you is how difficult science can be with p-values. So there's that statement that you should learn about and know and understand from the American Statistical Association. But I think this may better illustrate it. We're in a political season, so pick your poison, Republicans or Democrats. We have some nice data about who was in office in a given month and about what was happening with employment, inflation, GDP, and stock prices. So here, if we select the Democrats, we select all the data, we see there's not that big of a difference between Republicans and Democrats. Flip a coin, the p-value is 0.53, however you might want to interpret that. But suppose we want a finding that is significant. Of course, we want that p-value to be very small, so that this data doesn't look like it happened by chance, but that there's actually something the data is telling us. So suppose we concentrate on, GDP. Well, now look, we have a publishable result that says that Democrats are better. Agreed? We have a p-value that's less than 0.01. We've met the gold standard. We have a publishable result. Sadly, if we decide to concentrate on employment and inflation, we have the opposite results, and it turns out Republicans are better. So if our hypothesis is Republicans or Democrats are better, we can come up with any p-value we want given enough data and trying enough combinations. The truth is, there's nothing wrong with the data. The data doesn't support either hypothesis. Now, there's hope for us. We're developing methodology that is sound, and we're applying sound methodology in most of our analysis, and we're going to get better. We've recently undertaken a program of technical review for our analysis. We've recently published analytic standards that we're going to adhere to that are aspirational. It's a high bar, but it's a challenge for all of us to do sound, methodological, defensible analysis, and to be prepared to defend that analysis and to accept appropriate criticism when our analysis isn't as well founded as we thought it might be, because we are in a new era and the news is not good. We have to change that. Thank you.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests, and especially Jack. Congratulations. Jack has given, I think, one of the most difficult and challenging project in this in Toastmaster program. It's project number 5 from Speeches by Management, and it's delivering bad news. Nobody likes to do it. Right? And actually what this project teaches us is how to do it so graciously so the messenger is not getting killed. So certainly Jack has done a wonderful job. He survived, congratulations. And I'm going to explain why I think he has done it so well, what specifically he has done. So first of all we have learned in Toastmaster, Jack certainly uses skillfully. His voice, his visuals, and one of the slides he showed with this a lot of text on it was certainly not suitable for general Toastmaster audience, but for the audience of analysts he was talking to. And today we were operational analysts. I'm very proud of it. It was certainly suitable, but there was also some tweak with this effective demonstration of Democrats versus Republicans, the statistical tool. Still, with all the deference for Jack's skills, I have some suggestions, some meat in my sandwich on what he can do better. First of all, the main message, what the bad news? From what I heard, since it was delivered in the very beginning, it was science is broken. This is a very effective and impressionable message, but it's very unspecific. Actually, I think Jack has another message in his speech, which I think would be much more specific and more effective. I think, Jack, you could have said in the beginning, I have bad news for you. All the research we have published today is going to be questioned and challenged, maybe tomorrow. And you had this phrase in your speech. Second, I think it would be very convenient for us as an audience to know what we're going to hear ahead of time. You could have warned Mustafa to use it as your introduction, to warn us that we are analysts about to hear bad news. And third, I think it's very important to have some very specific suggestion for the audience who just heard the bad news on what exactly they can do different, so they can move forward. That's the whole idea of this project, to make sure that the audience feel the way that they are not thinking about the bad thing too much, but they have some instrument or some paths for them open to move forward. So I didn't hear what you're going to use instead of p-value. Are you going to use seat of pen position? Maybe ask Carl for opinion and to signify the statistical finding. So something very specific. Otherwise, it was an enjoyable speech to listen. You've done very well, and I'm looking forward to whatever goes after speeches by management.